She played me for a fool. But I made her regret it. She thought I'd never find out. But I uncovered her dirty secret. Watch till the end to see how I turned the tables on her. I never thought I'd be the guy telling a story like this. You always hear about betrayal, about people getting played, but you never expect it to happen to you. I trusted her. I believed every word she said. But the truth? The truth was waiting for me in the most unexpected way. It all started with a feeling. That gut instinct that something wasn't right. At first, I ignored it. After all, she had never given me a reason to doubt her. She was sweet, caring at least, that's what I thought. But small things started adding up. The way she'd suddenly put her phone face down. The new habit of stepping outside to take certain calls. The late-night work meetings that never seemed to end. I told myself I was just being paranoid. But then, one night, I saw it. A simple notification on her screen when she thought I wasn't looking. A message preview, just enough to make my blood run cold. Can't wait to see you again. My heart pounded. I swallowed hard. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. Maybe it was an old message. But deep down I knew. I didn't confront her right away. I needed proof. Solid proof. If she was playing me, I wasn't going to let her get away with it that easily. The next few days, I paid attention to every little detail. The way she smiled at her phone. The excuses. The sudden need to stay late at work. And then came the perfect opportunity. She had a weekend trip planned, some girls' retreat she had been talking about for weeks. She kissed me goodbye, told me she loved me, and walked out the door like nothing was wrong. But I had other plans. I waited an hour, then checked her location. Yes, we shared it, something she probably forgot about. She wasn't heading toward the cabin she mentioned. She was going the opposite way. Straight into the city. I took a deep breath. My hands clenched into fists. If I was going to do this, I had to do it right. I grabbed my keys and followed the signal. I drove in silence, my grip tightening on the wheel as I followed the small blinking dot on my phone screen. The location updated every few seconds, leading me deeper into the city. My mind raced with every possible scenario. Maybe there was an innocent explanation. Maybe I was overreacting. But deep down, I already knew the truth, I just needed to see it with my own eyes. Her car finally stopped near a high-end hotel, the kind of place we never went to because she always said it was too expensive. I pulled into a parking spot a safe distance away and watched as she stepped out of the driver's seat. Dressed up, hair done, looking nothing like someone heading to a casual girls' trip. My heart pounded as I saw her pull out her phone and send a message. A few moments later, a man stepped out of the hotel lobby and greeted her with the kind of smile that told me everything I needed to know. She giggled, placing her hand on his chest, and in that moment, something inside me snapped. I had all the proof I needed. I could have confronted her right then and there, but I wanted her to feel the weight of her betrayal. She had played me for a fool, and I wasn't going to let her get away with it. I took out my phone and snapped a few pictures. Not blurry, not from a distance, clear shots that would leave no room for excuses. Then I drove home, my mind working fast, planning my next move. That night, she texted me like nothing had happened. "Miss you already," she wrote, while I sat staring at the pictures of her in another man's arms. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. If she wanted to play games, I was about to show her what real strategy looked like. The next morning, I acted normal. I sent her a message wishing her a great trip. Meanwhile, I started preparing for what was coming next. First, I gathered every piece of evidence, screenshots, photos, timestamps, everything. I wasn't just going to leave. I was going to make sure she never forgot the day she lost me. By the time she got back home 2 days later, I had already set the trap. She walked through the door with that same sweet smile, acting like the perfect girlfriend. "Missed you," she said, wrapping her arms around me. I forced myself to play along, hugging her back. But inside, I was counting down the hours until everything fell apart. The next evening, I suggested we go out for dinner. A special date night. She seemed thrilled, probably thinking she had gotten away with it. She got dressed up, looking radiant, confident, unaware that this night would be one she'd never forget. As we sat down at our table, I pulled out my phone, opened the album labeled Lies, and slid it across to her. "Go ahead," I said, my voice calm but firm. "Take a look." She looked at me, confused at first, then picked up the phone. As soon as her eyes landed on the pictures, I saw the color drain from her face. Her hand trembled slightly as she swiped through them, each one a clear, undeniable shot of her and the other guy together. Her fake weekend trip, her lies, all exposed in an instant. I leaned back in my chair, watching as she struggled to form words. I can explain," she stammered, her voice barely above a whisper. I raised an eyebrow, keeping my expression cold. "Really?" I said, my tone controlled but sharp. "Because I'd love to hear it." "Go ahead." She swallowed hard, glancing around the restaurant like she was searching for an escape. But there wasn't one. Not this time. I could see her mind racing, trying to come up with something, anything that could save her. But the truth was, she was out of moves. It wasn't what it looks like, she finally blurted out, her voice shaking. He's just a friend, I swear. We were just a friend. I cut her off, letting out a short, humorless laugh. A friend you meet at a hotel? A friend you hold onto like that? A friend who sends you messages saying he can't wait to see you again. I shook my head, feeling nothing but disgust. Save it. She opened her mouth again, but I held up a hand, stopping her. You didn't just lie to me, I continued, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. You made me believe you were someone you're not. You looked me in the eyes and told me you loved me while sneaking around behind my back. I let the words sink in, watching as her face twisted with panic. But the worst part? I leaned in slightly. You really thought I was stupid enough not to find out. Tears welled up in her eyes, but I wasn't falling for it. Not anymore. I had spent too much time ignoring the signs, making excuses for her, believing she was better than this. Now, I saw her for exactly who she was. I'm sorry, she whispered, her voice barely audible. I messed up. I don't know what I was thinking. I exhaled slowly, feeling an unexpected wave of relief. Not because she was apologizing, but because, for the first time, I felt completely free. Free from the lies, the doubt, the false hope. She wasn't the person I thought she was, and now I didn't have to pretend anymore. I leaned back in my chair, crossing my arms. Yeah, I said finally. You did mess up. And now you get to live with that. Her eyes widened as she realized what I meant. Wait, please, she reached for my hand, but I pulled away. No, I said firmly. We're done. She looked around again as if expecting someone to come to her rescue. But no one was coming. This wasn't a movie where she'd get a dramatic second chance. This was real life, and actions had consequences. I stood up, tossing a few bills on the table to cover my part of the meal. Enjoy the rest of your night, I said flatly before turning and walking away. Behind me, I heard her call my name, her voice breaking. But I didn't stop. I didn't look back. I had wasted enough time on someone who never deserved me in the first place. As I stepped out into the cool night air, I took a deep breath, letting it all go. The pain, the betrayal, it didn't matter anymore. She thought she could play me, thought she could get away with it. But in the end, I was the one who walked away with my dignity intact. She was left sitting there, alone, facing the consequences of her own choices. I walked down the street, feeling the weight lift off my shoulders with every step. The city lights flickered around me, the cool air filling my lungs as I processed everything that had just happened. It was over. No more lies, no more second-guessing, no more pretending. For the first time in a long time, I felt clear-headed. I had done exactly what I needed to do, expose her, let her sit in the mess she created, and walk away with my head held high. But as much as I wanted to just move on, I knew this wasn't completely over. Not yet. People like her don't just take accountability and disappear. No, they try to manipulate, to twist the truth, to rewrite the story in a way that makes them the victim. And I wasn't about to let that happen. Sure enough, my phone buzzed before I even made it home. I glanced down at the screen, her name lighting up in a string of missed calls and desperate messages. Please talk to me. I made a mistake, but I love you. Don't throw this away, we can fix it. I let out a breath, shaking my head. Love? That wasn't love. Love wasn't sneaking around behind my back, feeding me lies while running off to meet someone else. Love wasn't gaslighting me into thinking I was crazy when I started to notice the signs. Love wasn't playing me for a fool and expecting me to just take it. I didn't reply. Instead, I did what I should have done a long time ago, I blocked her. Calls, messages, social media. Gone. She no longer had access to me, to my time, to my energy. She had made her choice, and now she had to live with it. Still, part of me wondered how long it would take for her to start spreading her version of the story. I could already picture it, how she'd twist the truth to make herself look better. Maybe she'd tell people I was too distant, that I didn't give her enough attention. Maybe she'd say we were going through a rough patch and that what she did wasn't really cheating, just a mistake. Maybe she'd even try to paint me as the villain, saying I was cruel for walking away. But the difference between us? I didn't need to lie. I had the truth. And I had something even better, self-respect. A few days passed and life slowly returned to normal. Well, almost. Word got around fast. Mutual friends started reaching out, some just wanting to check in, others clearly fishing for gossip. I kept my responses simple. She cheated, I found out, I left. That was it. No need for drama, no need to make it bigger than it already was. The facts spoke for themselves. Then, one evening, I got a message that made me pause. It was from a guy I barely knew, someone who had dated her years ago. Hey man. I don't know if you care, but you're not the first. She did the same thing to me. I stared at the message for a moment before responding. Not surprised. He sent another text explaining how she had played him the same way, how she had lied and manipulated until she was caught and then tried to spin the story in her favor. It was almost identical to what had happened with me. And that's when it hit me, this wasn't a mistake. This was a pattern. She hadn't slipped up. She had never been the person I thought she was. And chances were she never would be. A week later, I ran into one of our mutual friends at a coffee shop. She hesitated for a moment before finally saying, "She's been telling people you overreacted." I smirked. Of course, she was. That was the only way she could save face. Let her talk, I said. I don't need to explain myself. And that was the truth. I didn't owe anyone an explanation, least of all her. She could say whatever she wanted, twist the story however she pleased. At the end of the day, I knew what happened. And more importantly, I knew I had walked away with my integrity intact. That's the thing about people like her, they think they can get away with it forever. That they can keep playing the same games and never face real consequences. But eventually, the truth catches up. And when it does, there's no running from it. She thought she could play me. She thought she could lie, cheat, and manipulate without ever getting caught. But in the end, I was the one who had the final say. I walked away. I moved on. And she? She was left behind, trapped in the mess she had created. A month passed and life had never felt better. No more second-guessing, no more wondering if the person I loved was lying to my face. The weight of betrayal was gone, replaced with something unexpected, peace. It was strange at first, waking up and not feeling that gnawing doubt in the back of my mind. I didn't have to analyze every text, every glance, every change in her routine. I was free. But just because I had moved on didn't mean she had. It started with small things. Mutual friends would drop hints about how she was going through a tough time, how she really regretted everything. I never asked for details, I didn't care. But then the direct messages started coming in. Fake accounts at first, all with the same desperate tone. "Please, just talk to me. I made a mistake. I miss you. You don't have to forgive me, but I just need closure." Closure? She wanted closure? She had all the closure she needed when she decided to betray me. She had it when she snuck around, thinking I was too blind to notice. She had it when I handed her the proof and walked away. There was nothing left to say. Then, out of nowhere, she showed up. I had just stepped out of my apartment ready to start my day when I saw her standing there. Her eyes were red-rimmed, her hair slightly disheveled, as if she had spent the whole night working up the courage to do this. She looked at me like she expected me to drop everything, to take one look at her and melt. "Hey," she said softly. I didn't answer. I just stared at her, waiting for her to get to the point. She shifted uncomfortably under my gaze. "I know I shouldn't be here, but I just needed to see you. To explain." I exhaled slowly, keeping my voice even. "There's nothing to explain." Her lip trembled. "Please, I was stupid, okay? I was selfish. I don't even know why I did it. It didn't mean anything." I let out a short laugh. "It didn't mean anything? You risked everything for something that didn't mean anything." I shook my head. "That's even worse." She reached out as if to touch my arm, but I stepped back, making it clear that this conversation wasn't going the way she had hoped. "I miss you," she whispered. I met her eyes, and for the first time I really saw her. Not the person I had loved. Not the person I had once planned a future with. Just a stranger who had played games, lost, and now didn't know how to handle it. "I don't miss you," I said simply. "And I never will." The words hit her like a slap. She blinked rapidly, struggling to hold back tears. But I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, just the cold reality that we were done. She took a shaky breath. "So that's it?" "That's it," I confirmed. "You made your choice. And now you have to live with it." She stood there for a moment as if waiting for me to take it back. But I didn't. Instead, I walked past her, leaving her standing there alone, just like she had left me the moment she decided I wasn't enough. I never saw her again after that. Maybe she moved on and found someone else to play with. Maybe she still tells herself that what she did wasn't that bad. Maybe she still hopes that one day I'll change my mind. But I won't. Because people like her don't change. They just find new ways to lie, new people to deceive. And me? I'll never be anyone's fool again. She thought she could break me. She thought I'd be just another guy who'd take the betrayal, forgive her, and beg for another chance. But I was the one who got the last word. And now I'm telling this story, not for her, not for revenge, but for anyone who's ever been lied to, cheated on, played like a fool. You don't have to stay. You don't have to fight for someone who wouldn't fight for you. Walk away. Move on. Live your life. Because in the end, that's the best revenge. If you made it this far, let me know what you think in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more stories like this.